Siegel with the Washington Examiner, and we're excited to be partnering with Citizens for Responsible Energy Solutions to bring you this virtual discussion on America's evolving domestic energy industry and the economic importance of Iowa's clean energy workforce. So we're going to kick off our conversation today with longtime advocate for renewable energy, Senator Chuck Grassley from Iowa, and then we're going to have a panel discussion with some local leaders in Iowa, including Iowa Senate Majority Leader Jack Whitver, Bill Anderson, the executive director of the Cherokee Area Economic Development Corporation, and then Joe Murphy, the executive director of the Iowa Business Council. So I'm going to turn it to Senator Grassley to kick off the discussion. He'll have some opening remarks. Senator, take it.
Well, first of all, these are very unusual times because of the pandemic and the government shutting down the economy and people being home more than elsewhere. And we're very resilient people in Iowa, and we're going to get through it. But it's not exactly easy. And I think that the fact that we've had energy people generally, and particularly alternate energy people, be on the job, making sure that we got the energy to run the state of Iowa the way we do. They ought to be applauded for it, and I applaud them for it. And one of the things that I think about clean energy, and this could be wind, that's my main interest, and I better say wind second to ethanol, because there's more ethanol workers in Iowa than there are wind energy people. But whether it's wind or solar or geothermal or wind or you name them, it's kind of like every one of them serve the American people well with a clean environment. Most of them serve agriculture very well because agriculture benefits from it. Number three, it's surely good for our national security as well. It's strength by having less dependence upon foreign sources of energy, things of that nature. I always like to end, whether I'm at an ethanol plant or a wind energy ribbon cutting, everything about alternative energy is good, good, good. And if I could sing the old Campbell Soup song of 1930s, I'd sing it, but I'm not a very good singer.
Nice. I appreciate that, Senator. And I know you've got to run shortly. You do have some time for a few questions. So I'm going to start off now. I know you're often referred to as the father of the wind energy production tax credit. Can you tell us, how did you get that nickname, and kind of why you've prioritized growing renewable energy in a place like Iowa, where we don't normally think of renewable energy?
It was the day before fracking, because I suppose if you go back to the 80s, we thought we were going to import all of our oil and all of our energy. And if we knew about fracking and having low prices for natural gas, maybe we wouldn't have gone down this road. But we wanted to avoid any massive dependence upon foreign sources of energy for economic reasons, for national security reasons. So we thought up everything we could do to encourage alternative energy. I and Bob Dole were early into ethanol, but by myself, I got into wind. And I got to say, quite frankly with you, I didn't think wind energy would be the big thing it has turned out to be. Where right today, we're getting 40% of our electricity from wind. So we set up this tax credit. And I suppose if the wind energy tax credit had been as insignificant portion of electric generation when I thought it up, I would never be the father of the wind energy tax credit. But it just took off because of entrepreneurship, because of people willing to invest, because environmentalists got behind it. And that's how I got to be a father of the wind energy tax credit. But I wear that badge proudly.
Nice. No, that's really cool. I mean, again, when people think of clean energy, they probably think about California. They think about these coastal states that have these, aggressive clean energy laws. You reference the renewable, wind production tax credit. But I mean, how else do you think Iowa has managed to make progress? How much of it has been policy? How much has it just been, private innovation? How would you kind of weigh that?
Well, when it comes to investment in these things, that's entrepreneurship. The government has a partnership for these infant industries, like we had the tax credit for ethanol from grain until 2013 for 20 some years to get it off the ground. We're in the process of phasing out the wind energy tax credit because it's becoming a mature industry as well, and so private investment, but also the needs of the economy. We're still debating the extent to which global warming and climate change is related to natural versus human contribution to it, but it doesn't matter. We got global warming. We got to do something about it. Alternative energy, particularly wind and solar and geothermal and hydro, answer that. I guess nuclear answers it well, but wind is a big one. And in Iowa, we are number one in the percentage of our electricity that comes from wind. There may be other states actually generate more, but the percentage that we generate electricity became number one. So I would want to say, obviously, people in agriculture got behind it. People in environment got behind it. People that wanted to invest because of the incentive we had got behind it. But those same entrepreneurs, when we don't have the incentive, are going to still be investing in it and things of that nature. And I guess the willingness of the American free enterprise system and the political system we have that gives individuals an opportunity to use their own ingenuity of their muscles or ingenuity of their brain, is what we always hold up as what's unique about America. And that it's all tied together. And that's what, it's not just one thing, in other words.
Great. I appreciate that, Senator. And, you mentioned private sector ingenuity. Also, I mean, right now, a lot of people, though, are, looking at Congress as we deal with this pandemic. The clean energy workforce, I know, has been hit pretty hard. There's been a lot of job losses. We haven't really seen Congress do much in that area, specifically for clean energy workers yet. What would you like to see in the pandemic?
Well, we have done some things in the sense that the economy being shut down, plus the dangers of the virus, pardon me, has slowed up some production. And so some of the safe harbors that were in the solar and wind are in question, and those need to be protected so that we can maintain this proposition that if you get things actually started for construction, but don't get them done at the end of the credit running out, that credit will still continue as you continue your construction beyond that. So that safe harbor is something that's very, very important. And even though I've said publicly that we've got to keep our word to each other, that we're going to phase out the wind energy tax credit, there are still some people that would say that we ought to continue the wind energy tax credit beyond the phase out, and also the solar energy tax credit beyond next year, the end of next year. And I'm going to take a look at it at that particular time, but I think I also got to consider that for the people that wanted to do away with the wind energy tax credit a long time before it became a mature industry. And I said to them, if you'll quit fighting me on the wind energy tax credit, I will work with the industry and see what sort of a period of time we can have of a phase out so we can make this a mature industry. I made that deal. That doesn't mean that other people can't pick up the cudgels and move on with it to extend it further, but I don't know whether I can be in the forefront of that. But I'm sure happy with what we've done at this point, and I do think there needs to be some accommodation for because of the pandemic and the government shutting down the economy and the slowness with which we're getting the economy up and running again, although I think it's turned around faster than anybody anticipated.
And just to follow up on one thing there, you did say, you're kind of weighing the pros and cons a little bit of extending the wind production credit. How much though does I know there's been Republican senators from fossil fuel states who, even just yesterday we're saying, guys like James Langford out of Oklahoma, we don't want to see this extended. How much though does the pandemic kind of weigh on you when you think about whether that does need to be extended, or is this still, we've seen such growth that it doesn't matter?
One thing that weighs on me is the fact that I told people 5 years ago that if we can do this, I won't promote any more of that. So I think I think your words got to mean something. And when you tell the public something, unless there's some doggone good reason for changing it, and I thought the pandemic was one reason to work on the safe harbor. Another one was that we extended wind energy for 1 year because it wasn't equal to what solar was going to be phased out. I think in those instances, I'm justified in going a little bit beyond less than the word that I gave to people. But I don't think I can be out in the forefront for a 5-year extension. Now, if somebody else does it, you think I'm going to fight it? No, I'm not going to fight it.
Well, that makes sense to me, Senator. I know you have to run here in a minute. Is there anything else you'd want to add to discussion as we move on to the local part of the panel?
Only that we have been so successful at what we're doing. And when people ask me, what are you going to do about global warming? And I say to them, we already have reduced greenhouse gases down to the 2005 level. No other country's that good. European Union used to be a little bit ahead of us. They've fallen behind us now. And we've been so successful. All we got to do is continue doing what we're doing. But what we got to do is get the rest of the world, like China, India, Indonesia, Brazil, to do what we're doing. We got to sell it to the rest of the world. California, if they get down to 0 greenhouse emissions, which is their goal, I'm not going to fight them on that goal. If they want to do that in California, let them do it. But it's going to be insignificant compared to the global climate change that we're having. Right. And so we got to get the rest of the world to do what we're doing in the United States.
Very good. That's a good way to close. Senator, I appreciate your time. We appreciate having you. I'm going to let you run now. But yeah, thanks again.
I didn't say hi to my other friends that are on this program. Hi, everybody. Thank you very much for your leadership, both your political and civic leadership there in Iowa. Very
good. So let's pass it on to our panelists over there in Iowa. I'm gonna give you a chance for opening statements about your perspective on clean energy jobs in Iowa, why reducing emissions has become this bipartisan priority, even as the current landscape is pretty politicized, and we're still debating solutions, but there is some agreement. So I'm going to start with Iowa Senate Majority Leader Jack Whitver, and then we'll go from there. So Senator Whitver, if you can just give us an opening statement, please.
Well, thank you very much for including me as part of this panel, and appreciate the invite very, very much. I think he's off the panel now, but it's great to see Senator Grassley out in DC working hard as he always does, never misses a vote, and he always has our best interest at heart out there. So we appreciate that very much. But my name is Jack Whitver. I'm our Senate Majority Leader here in the state of Iowa. And I was born in rural Iowa. I'm a lifelong Iowan who is now proud to represent Iowa Senate District 19, which is Ankeny, Alleman, and North Des Moines. So just kind of the northern suburbs of Des Moines and Polk County. And when we took the Senate majority 4 years ago, we have had a laser-like focus on a pro-growth, pro-job agenda, and it's really paying off here in the state of Iowa. Just 6 months ago, we had the best economy we have ever had in this state, along with the best economy in our country. And we're well on our way to getting it back on track after this really tough year of 2020 with the coronavirus. But I often talk about the importance of creating a growth environment here in Iowa. And our clean energy workforce plays a key role in that. And I believed as a state that we're well positioned for growth, but we need to continue to improve our job creating environments to take advantage of that growth. And so we've worked very hard on that the last couple of years in the state legislature here in Iowa. Leading into this discussion about National Clean Energy Week, we've been talking a lot about what it means when we're talking about clean energy workers. And for Iowa, it means we're talking about small businesses. We're talking about veterans. We're talking about an existing workforce that attracts economic development. A lot of people might not know this, but across the country, clean energy companies hire a much greater percentage of veterans than the national average. Small businesses employ 2 out of every 3 of these clean energy workers. And I know being a small business owner myself, I have to work in the business environment that we create here in Iowa, and it gives you a different perspective when you're trying to make laws. But small businesses really drive this clean energy sector. In 2019, 77% of Iowa clean energy businesses employed fewer than 20 individuals. The majority of these clean energy jobs are in manufacturing and construction. So these are really the small businesses we're talking about, under 20 individuals. And 10.5% of Iowa clean energy workers were veterans. And so we're really proud of that. And I think that's a great thing. Prior to COVID-19, Des Moines had just hired over 6,500 clean energy workers. So we know that energy in the 21st century, it must be independent. And we want to be choosing from options that are pioneered and developed right here in the United States. So we're very excited about the progress of clean energy in Iowa. Senator Grassley has certainly been a champion for many, many years, and it's really paid off in Iowa. It's a win-win because these are great jobs. They're manufacturing jobs, they're construction jobs, those that install and service the clean energy projects. So we're very excited about that here in the state of Iowa. A couple things I just want to highlight that I think is really important. As Republicans, we've really tried to play a key role in securing clean energy opportunities for our people and our citizens and our constituents. Prior to COVID-19, just 6 months ago, as I talked about the best economy we ever had, the clean energy industry here in Iowa provided 31,000 jobs to Iowans. And these are good jobs. 65% of those were in energy efficiency, 18% were in renewable energy, and almost 10% were in advanced transportation. So we're so excited about what's going on here in the state of Iowa and the amount of energy that we're creating. 5,100 wind turbines generate 42% of our net power generation. We're the leading ethanol producer in the country as we produce about 1/4 of our total U.S. fuel production. So these are really important jobs for us. It's really important to our economy, and I'm really pleased to be on here to discuss what's going on in the state of Iowa with all of you.
Very good. I appreciate that, Senator Whitver. Now we're going to turn to Bill Anderson. Again, he's the Executive Director of the Cherokee Area Economic Development Corporation. So take it away, Bill.
Thank you, Josh. Thank you to the Washington Examiner, to Citizens for Responsible Energy Solutions for inviting me to be part of this distinguished panel this morning. I would echo many of the things that Senator Whitver said, but I really want to touch on 3 significant projects that have taken place within the renewable energy field here in Cherokee County. The first being Glacier's Edge, which is a wind energy project that was completed within the last year. 82 turbines. We've seen a $246 million investment there. The energy that's going to be produced, that wind energy that's produced, Google has purchased that energy. With that project, 150 construction jobs for the county, $1.5 million a year in tax revenue for the county and the school district. That's highly significant. over the life of that project. That's $30 million. That's a big deal for us here. When you really get down to the brass tacks of what the impact was for the small communities, rentals, the demand was much greater than the supply. Hotel bookings were up 50%. Restaurants saw 25% increase. The grocery stores, everything 10% increases. So we've seen a lot of dividends paid just from that project, not to mention the long-term jobs that will come with that and the opportunities for young people from Northwest Iowa, from Cherokee County in particular, in my role, to have those opportunities to come back. We've also been working with a company out of Minnesota, Blue Horizon Energy, which is a solar company. And Blue Horizon's first project in Iowa is just north of Marcus, Iowa, at the Door Family Farm. They have 6 livestock facilities that have utilized that technology. Along with that, the Marcus, Meriden, Cleghorn, Remsen Union School District is going to utilize that. And over the life of that project, or the warranty of that project, that solar project, that will save that school district $700,000 in energy costs. Not to mention that same day when we had Senator Ernst there to launch that program, the Bright Future program was something that Blue Horizon also introduced, which is going to give opportunities to young people to learn more about the solar aspect and look at what jobs can line up with that industry. So we're excited about that. And a highlight of the last month, we had Senator Grassley visit Cherokee County, and he visited Foundation Analytical Laboratories, and they work with over 50% of the ethanol plants here in our nation. And so they test that ethanol. 23 of the 25 employees at Foundation Lab have roots in Cherokee County. So those are opportunities that presented themselves that wouldn't have been there without those investments for young people who've left to get their education, to come back to rural Iowa, to have an opportunity to buy a home, get married, and raise a family. So we're excited about renewables, and we have one of the best run ethanol plants in the nation, Little Sioux corn processors just outside of Marcus, Iowa as well. So we're excited about that. They're doing a $50 million expansion there. So we see tons of growth within the renewable industry. We are supportive of that. The economy in Cherokee County is strong despite some of the roller coaster ride that we've been on this last few months. So we're excited about the future, very optimistic. And again, thank you for allowing me to participate today. It's an honor to be with you and to share some of the good news coming from Cherokee County. Obviously, this is going on across the state of Iowa, but thank you from Cherokee County for this opportunity.
Very good. I appreciate it, Bill. That's very informative. Next, we have Joe Murphy, the Executive Director of the Iowa Business Council. He's also going to give us an opening statement. Take it away, Joe.
Thanks, Josh. Really appreciate your time today, and thanks to the Washington Examiner as well as the Citizens for Responsible Energy Solutions for hosting this panel today. And it's great to be with some of my friends and colleagues in Iowa. Senator Whitver, thanks for your continued leadership, and it was great to hear from Senator Grassley as well. And Bill, it's always great to see you and work with you. And thanks for all the work that you're doing in rural Iowa. The Iowa Business Council is a nonpartisan, nonprofit organization comprised of the state's largest companies throughout the entire state. And among those companies, we have the top executives sitting on our board of directors. And the whole mission of the Iowa Business Council is to enhance Iowa's economic vitality, not only for business and industry in the state, but for every single Iowan, from border to border, river to river, up and down our entire state. And that's really what we're focused on. We were born in 1985 in another time of crisis in Iowa. That was in the middle of the Iowa farm crisis of the 1980s. And business leaders at the time decided to come together as leaders in our state and really elevate the opportunities that we have in Iowa and elevate jobs and Iowa's way of life to create a better economy, create more opportunities for Iowans, and bring more people into our state. When we think about renewable energy and energy more broadly, the Iowa Business Council is fortunate enough to have two just fantastic leaders in energy production and renewable energy production. Alliant Energy Group and Mid-American Energy are nationwide leaders in this space. And in particular, Alliant Energy will have invested nearly $2 billion in wind generation in Iowa since 2016 through the end of this year in 2020. In addition to that, Mid-American Energy in total has invested approximately $13 billion in renewable energy since 2004. So just huge investments, not only in Iowa, but among the local property tax base, among local jobs, construction, et cetera. I mean, these opportunities that these companies are providing, these investments that these great Iowa companies are providing, is really significant. And so we're so thankful for those two members among our peers, and we're so happy to see them continue to invest in the state of Iowa, continue to provide jobs and opportunities for Iowans. And I think the future is really going to be exciting. These companies, in particular, are not going to settle for the status quo and what's currently happening within their space. They're looking at next generation opportunities as well, whether that's solar, whether that's battery storage, whether that's additional wind generation. I think that what really separates Iowans and Iowa businesses is the fact that we're constantly innovating, constantly trying to get an angle on how we can bring a product to market and provide that access for everyday Iowans and everyday workers. So really looking forward to the discussion today. Really, really appreciate the opportunity to share from a statewide perspective on what we're seeing, and look forward to the questions and comments.
Cool. Appreciate that, Joe. So yeah, let's now turn to a few questions for the panel. You'll each have an opportunity to answer these questions. So yeah, let's start off. I know, again, we're kind of still debating. This is still a somewhat polarized topic, how to reduce emissions and expand clean energy. Everyone, of course, wants the U.S. to be this leader in both clean energy jobs and reducing emissions. You touched on some of this. We've seen Iowa's progress in wind and ethanol, the leadership there. You've touched on even advancements in solar and storage. What's something you think the rest of the country could kind of learn from Iowa's approach? We've seen the tax credit has helped, but also there has been this entrepreneurial spirit. So kind of, what would you say is the biggest takeaway for the rest of the country on modeling after Iowa? Senator Whitver, let's start with you, and then we'll go around.
Yeah, that's a good question. And being a leader in clean energy, we hope there's things that we can learn from other states, but also teach other states. Here in the state of Iowa, one of the greatest challenges that we've had over the last couple of years, if not the greatest challenge, if you talk to businesses all over the state in every industry, is a challenge of workforce. Just prior to the pandemic and ongoing, we've had over 50,000 jobs open. They're ready to be filled by Iowans, but we do not have the workforce to fill those positions. And I know that there's many people around the state and around the country that would hear that and think that sounds like a really good problem to have. But as we come out of this pandemic and we look to rebound our economy, we must do so with an eye to the future. And we must establish a resilient economy that's truly built to last. And that must be our focus for any plan. And any plan that includes America's clean energy workers, or that does not include America's clean energy workers, would be incomplete. And so this has been a problem for us, but we're continuing to work on solutions to try to fill those jobs that are open, ready to be filled. One of those things that we've worked on, the governor has really championed, Governor Reynolds, is called Future Ready Iowa. And it's a plan to try to position Iowa over the next 10 to 20 years to make sure that we have people with the right skills for the jobs that are going to be available over the next decade or two. And that has made a significant impact on our workforce issues. But at the end of the day, we just still need more people in Iowa included in our workforce. We made one of the country's earliest commitments to clean energy, and that investment has really paid dividends, especially in our rural economic development with new manufacturing jobs. We have affordable electricity rates all across the state. But I also see jobs being developed here locally in Polk County in the Des Moines area that I represent. In fact, Des Moines Area Community College, DMACC, it's in my district. It's our largest community college in the state, and they offer a wind turbine technology degree program. These are really highly skilled, well-paying jobs in a rapidly growing industry. And so looking to the future, developing these kind of programs, working in the private sector with the public sector to make sure that we have our citizens getting the skills and the degrees they need is really, really important. And so this is the type of economic activity that cultivates a sustainable workforce. It attracts job creators, and these are long-term jobs, and we're really excited about them.
Cool, very good. Appreciate that, Senator. Now let's go to Bill Anderson. In Cherokee County. What would you say? I mean, how could the rest of the country learn from what's going on in Iowa and also in Cherokee County?
Absolutely. Well, I begin with, I had the opportunity to serve in the legislature with Jack, with Senator Whitver for 7 years, and the vast majority of that time, 6 of those 7 years in the minority. And one thing that I learned, especially when you talk about the renewable energy, whether it be solar, wind, or the biofuels, that really was a bipartisan issue. That was something that we could find common ground on. And that would be something that I think other states could learn from. Also, the fact that we've been very fortunate to have great leaders like Senator Grassley and other members of our delegation, our congressional delegation, that have been leaders for many, many years, decades in Senator Grassley's case, in the renewable fuels industry and the renewables in general. So we're very blessed, I think, to have that type of leadership. To piggyback on what Senator Whitver said about the Future Ready Iowa. Here in Cherokee County, we have a program of our own called the Cherokee County Promise. So where Future Ready Iowa focuses really in on some high demand areas, Cherokee County Promise will allow kids here in Cherokee County that will commit to staying here for 3 years, a free education. So if it's not in a targeted field, we can still find them a pathway to get them that type of education. But on the other end of that, what's important about the role that I play is that we have those opportunities for them, that when they complete that education, there's a job on the other end of that. And I would go back to my comments earlier about foundation analytical labs. I mean, that really has given young people that go out to get the education the opportunity to come back to Iowa. Many of these other projects I mentioned have given that same opportunity. So I think we're really well positioned as leaders with that, and the fact that we have a great quality of life here in Iowa that we can promote. And I know Debbie Durham and members of her team at Economic Development are doing just that. We're doing that on a much smaller scale here from Cherokee County, but I think there's a number of opportunities out there within the renewable field, and we're going to do everything we can to bring those kids home and to keep them home.
Very good. I appreciate that. Now, Joe, I'm going to transition to another question, unless there's something you want to add on that one. Okay, yeah, no. So, Joe, I'm wondering. I mean, we've talked about it. The coronavirus obviously hovers over a lot of this. How has it really impacted Iowa's clean energy workforce, and what role do you think the clean energy workers can play here in the coming months as the state looks to recover?
Right. Thanks, Josh. Well, to state the obvious, the pandemic and the economic disruption associated with that obviously has a significant impact, not just on the renewable energy sector, but across all sectors, not only across Iowa, but across our entire country. And despite all the economic gains that the renewable energy sector has received over the last few years, COVID-19 and the pandemic has really taken its toll. At its mid-2020 peak, the clean energy sector lost nearly 620,000 of the more than 3 million related jobs because of the disruption associated with the pandemic. And in Iowa specifically, between March and July, really at the peak of the crisis here in our state, 4,300 Iowan clean energy workers unfortunately lost their jobs. That's the sad reality of the situation. And that's something that we don't necessarily want to promote. And obviously we don't think that that's a good thing, but the silver lining in all this is that we are beginning to come back, I think. And I think as we look about how we can reinvigorate our economy, refuel our economy, if you will, for this panel, I think it's really important that we look to clean energy opportunities in our state to continue to reinvest, reprioritize, and really focus in on what sets us apart as a state. What are our core competencies as a state, and how can we use that to incentivize additional energy production moving into the future? We really believe at the Iowa Business Council that clean energy can really, again, pardon the pun, fuel our future growth in this state. We think that's absolutely proof positive. We've seen that before, dating back to the early 90s with Senator Grassley, and we think that will be the case again here in the state of Iowa. Now, it's important to note that we're not out of this yet. I mean, this is still a serious situation that we find ourselves in within our workforce situation. Senator Whitver touched on that in the previous question, understanding that we have still many job openings in the state of Iowa and still many opportunities yet to be filled as it relates to manufacturing and renewable energy and other areas as well. And so we're not out of the woods of this. And in fact, our association, the Iowa Business Council, surveys our CEO members each quarter. And over the last 2 quarters, obviously, our economic sentiment has not been positive. The good news is that we're starting to trend upward in that economic outlook. We have a long way to go. But again, I think the fact that our members, Iowa Business Council members, are beginning to rehire some of the individuals that they've had to furlough as a result of the pandemic, the fact that more than half of our employers anticipate rehiring those individuals in the next 7 to 9 months is a really great sign. And I think when you look again at the 2 companies that I highlighted earlier, Mid-American Energy and Alliant, those individuals in particular are on the front lines with respect to making sure that Iowa's grid, Iowa's energy production is maintained and intact. They didn't really shut down at all with respect to their production. And that's a really important note to make. And I think this is probably a different panel's topic, but when we have the derecho come through in Iowa, that really messes with everything relating to energy production. The fact that those 2 companies were able to come together, work with one another, work with the government to really repair and restore power as quickly as they could was really, really impressive. We couldn't thank them enough. And so while we're not out of the woods yet on the coronavirus and some of the other natural disasters that we've seen occur here in Iowa this year, our future is bright, and we remain optimistic, and we know that we'll get through this as we always have.
Thanks, Joe. I appreciate that rundown. I'm curious. You mentioned we've gone over some of the challenges. I'm wondering what, from the federal level, obviously, everything. There's still a lot that can be done to help the industry. What exactly are you do you think the federal government can be doing? We've heard Senator Grassley mention flexibility around tax credits, but is there more help that Congress can provide at this point?
Yeah, I think there absolutely is. I mean, Congress always has an important role to play with respect to incenting access to markets, and that's really where energy credits come into play. And as Senator Grassley mentioned at the beginning, helping industries mature throughout its lifespan, I think, is really, really important. I think if Congress was able to pass another COVID relief bill, that would be incredibly helpful. Our members are really interested in seeing what happens with some of the loan forgiveness with some of the smaller employers in the state of Iowa, mainly because those are a lot of our customers and clients. And so we want to make sure that the entire ecosystem in the state of Iowa is well cared for and well thought out. I think Congress absolutely has a role to play in some of that. They've done, I think, a really good job up until this point in providing liquidity into businesses and into the markets as quickly as they could. This economic situation that we find ourselves in right now is unlike the 2008-2009 crisis, where it took so long for the federal government to come forward with resources to provide relief to companies of all sizes. So the fact that they've been engaged already and appropriated a significant amount of federal dollars into the system is not nothing. It's helped a lot. And I think as they look at more strategic and more focused and more surgical opportunities to provide relief and provide assistance to companies, that's definitely something we'll continue to support.
Cool. And Senator Whitver, Bill, is there anything else you'd be able to add to that one?
I think I would just add briefly, I think it's really important at a congressional level to just provide consistency and predictability to our laws, especially in the ethanol industry. It's been a little bit of a whiplash back and forth with some of the battles going on, but that's really important if we want to encourage people to continue to make investments, not to mention the impact it has on our ag sector here in Iowa, but to really get those investments and long-term sustainability, predictability, I think, is really, really important.
I would echo that. Certainty and a level playing field. It would be the things that we discussed during the process of the EDF project.
And Senator, you brought up ethanol there. I am curious. You said, obviously always topsy-turvy policy there. I'm wondering, the president, the Trump administration recently, has signaled they're going to kind of give less exemptions to small refiners on their blending requirements. And did you see that as helpful? It seems like they are kind of leaning more pro-ethanol here in the months before the election.
Yeah, I think President Trump has been pro-ethanol for the entire 4 years. And then when he was campaigning here during the Iowa caucuses, some of the battles with the EPA make it difficult. But I think President Trump has been focused on helping our ag economy and ethanol all along. So getting through that, getting the refinery exemption issue settled certainly helps. E15, moving to E15 is going to be crucial over the next few years. We're really transitioning from E10 to E15 here in the state of Iowa, and how we treat our infrastructure for E15 is going to be really important. And I think that's what a lot of the folks in the ethanol industry are really watching is that transition to E15.
Good. All right, guys. Well, it's been a good conversation. Now we're gonna go to some closing remarks. I'm gonna phrase a question and give you guys each an opportunity to weigh in here. So yeah, Senator Grassley, in his opening remarks, he highlighted Governor Reynolds, her recognition of Clean Energy Week. That's why we're here talking today. And she was joined in this action by dozens of leaders across the country. As we rebuild the economy, you've discussed some of the things you'd like to see, but I mean, why should policymakers really be focused on the clean energy workforce? People might say, well, this workforce is primed to grow anyway. We're going in a cleaner direction. But why does Congress kind of need to, remain on the ball here? Why is this industry important? And I'm going to start with you, Senator Whitver, if you want to take that one.
Yeah, thank you. I believe now more than ever, the key to Iowa's future is a 21st century economy. And that means we're going to blend the technology, the innovation, the efficiency of the present day with traditional Iowa values of hard work, sacrifice, the things that we've always been known for in Iowa. So it's a blend of that new technology and innovation with that hard work that we've always been proud of here in Iowa. We must continue to move Iowa forward, and we can't do that without a diverse energy infrastructure. And so obviously coronavirus has played a huge role in our lives for everybody the last year. It's wreaked havoc on economies and state budgets all across this country. We're pretty proud here in Iowa, though, that we finished last fiscal year with a surplus, about $300 million surplus. We're projected to have the same next year, $300 million surplus. And in fact, there was a recent 50-state study completed that analyzed every single state and their fiscal strength, their ability to recover from this pandemic. And Iowa ended up being tied for #1 in that study. And the reason I bring that up in a clean energy panel is one of the reasons that we've been able to survive and withstand this pandemic is we've really made an effort over the last couple of decades to diversify our economy. And one of those diversifications is the growth that we've seen in clean energy and the jobs that it creates: manufacturing, construction, and service. And so we're primed for growth. Focusing on clean energy has been really beneficial for Iowa, not just because of the clean energy jobs, but because it's attracting other business investment. Facebook, for example, selected Altoona, which is right next to my district here, right outside of Des Moines, for a data center development, in large part because we can provide 100% renewable energy to meet their output requirements. And that just doesn't help clean energy industry. That helps the construction industry tremendously in Iowa. When they're building data center after data center after data center, that's creating generational wealth for these companies, small businesses that are getting parts of those contracts to build. It's creating tons of great jobs here in the state of Iowa, well-paying jobs that are going to be here for a decade plus. And it's not just Facebook, it's Amazon, it's Microsoft, it's Google. We've become a hub for great business investment like that. And so it's just really important for the future of our economy as we rebuild from the pandemic and start looking towards that 21st century economy.
Appreciate that, Senator. Same question here for you, Bill. Why is it important that policymakers here in the coming months, they're going to be making a lot of decisions? Why do they have to keep their eye on the ball on clean energy workers?
Well, I would say that whether you're talking about wind or solar, these industries are still developing, so there's still a need for support. As Senator Whitver said, certainty going forward, a level playing field for those industries so that they can continue to grow. We can point to a number of successes again here in the state of Iowa, and we've got great advocates again with Senator Grassley and Senator Ernst that are out talking about those things. But they need more support as well. So it's our job, I think, from what we do as economic development professionals, with Debbie Durham kind of leading that fight here for the state of Iowa, to continue to go out and tell the story of what the positive impacts of renewables are, not only for the economy but also for the environment. Again, with those hog facilities that I mentioned earlier north of Marcus, I mean that's going to be significant, the amount of energy that they're offset. 95% of their energy will be provided now from those solar panels. So that's a huge impact for the environment. And again, with Marcus Meriden Cleghorn School, they're going to continue to see others that are going to say, hey, they're doing it, maybe we should take a look at it. And so we're reaching out to the other districts in Cherokee County and saying, hey, this is something you may want to look at, not only for the energy savings, but for the fact that it gives those students an opportunity to learn more about the industry itself, so that they can look at that industry potentially as a future job. And so again, we've got a great story to tell here in Iowa. We just need to continue to, again, shout it from the hilltop that this is important, and that we need to continue to have that support, not only in Washington, D.C., but in Des Moines and other state capitals across the nation.
Appreciate that, Bill. Joe, how about you? Anything else you can add to this?
Yeah, I would just add sort of a combination between what Senator Whitver and Bill had talked about. Iowa, this is a core competency for Iowa, renewable energy, right? And so you want to invest in the areas that are your core competencies as a state or as an individual or as an organization. And so looking at that next generation opportunity, where is that innovation going to come from? Where's that ingenuity going to come from? And the renewable sector here in Iowa is just primed for explosive growth, I think. And as Senator Whitver said, and as Bill said, and others have said, this is really going to fuel future opportunities for Iowans. These are great paying jobs. These are fantastic technical jobs that require a lot of skill. So there's a lot of pride and effort that goes along with these jobs. And I think in addition to that, from an economic developer's perspective, renewable energy will keep our costs low, and it will keep overhead low for businesses and organizations. And so as those costs either stay low or decrease, there will be more opportunity for business expansion in this state as a result of very low energy costs in Iowa. And we're seeing that, as others have already pointed out, with national tech brands coming into the state of Iowa, but we're also seeing that with our local economies as well, in particular throughout rural Iowa. So this really serves as an economic tool for rural Iowa in particular, and something that we can all be proud of. And I think as we think about the future, it's really important to, again, look at ways in which we can identify those opportunities that will really lead into that next generation of innovation and ingenuity for our state. And so renewable energies, advanced manufacturing, financial services, all those play a role. But Iowa can be a worldwide leader in renewable energy. And it's a thing that will be really exciting to see unfold.
I appreciate that, Joe. And we do have a couple more minutes to play with here. So I forgive me if this one's a little bit tricky, but I'm wondering, I know Iowa, as we've said, has been this leader. I think it's one of the first states to have a renewable portfolio standard dating back to the 80s. Do you think, Iowa has the capacity to really go beyond? I think we're at 40% for wind, about 45% overall clean energy. Like, can we grow? I mean, can Iowa grow that? Can you get to 100%? Is that something that you think about? We see a lot of other states kind of setting mandates to do that. Iowa seems like it has a more hands-off approach, but is that something Iowa should be striving for, and how is it if so?
Yeah, absolutely, Josh. I think that's definitely something that we're striving for. And again, I'll just plug Mid-American and Alliant. Mid-American in particular has their Green Advantage plan, and their goal is to produce 100% renewable energy to Iowa customers through their Green Advantage program. And just to read off a quick stat to you, if you'll indulge me, the Green Advantage program allows Iowa customers to quantify their verified amount of renewable energy that was delivered to them. And in 2019, so just last year, that amount clocked in at 61.3%. And the Iowa Utilities Board, an independent board, verifies that amount on an annual basis. So we're well on our way on this, and something that we can all stand up and be proud of.
I would just add that, yeah, we have been fairly hands-off. We're not a big mandate state, but we also don't have to, because we have great corporate citizens like Mid-Am and like Alliant that are setting the bar extremely high for themselves, and they're not looking to government to push them. They want to do that. it's a major part of their plan and their goals. And we're proud to have partners in the state of Iowa like those companies and many others that they want to do this on their own. They don't need the government coming in and telling them to do it. That's their goal. That's their dream. That's their plan. And that's, I think, a good way to do it.
Cool. Anything on that one, Bill?
I'm in agreement with what was said by Joe and Senator Whitver. As far as mandates go, not a big fan of those. And like Jack said, if it's their goal, let them set that bar, let them reach that and attain that, and then continue to move that bar up until they attain what they feel is the top priority.
Yeah, and Josh, I would just add on to that. I mean, it really just makes, from the free market perspective, it just really makes good business sense for these companies to be doing this and investing their resources to provide that. Again, it will lower costs for companies, not only for the energy companies, but for their customers as well. And that will allow them to continue to expand, create jobs, and create opportunities for Iowa.
Cool. Appreciate that. And just one more follow on as I'm thinking about this stuff. We obviously Iowa, it still has a decent amount of traditional energy. Like we hear a lot about clean energy and kind of this idea of transition and, can we kind of train, transition workers from fossil fuels over to clean energy? I mean, have you found the skills to be pretty, transferable? I mean, how has that worked out as far as this idea of transition? Is that something you think people understand?
Well, Go ahead.
No, go ahead, Joe.
Okay, thanks.
Sorry on the spot.
Okay. No, that's all right. Senator Whitver can correct me. I think there are, while there are different industries, I think there are a lot of transferable skills that go between the two, right? I mean, and I think what makes Iowa workers so dynamic is the fact that they are constantly learning new trades, new skills, new talents, and they are constantly applying what they've learned in previous life experiences to the current job that they have. And that's what really leads to innovations and technology transfers throughout our state and throughout the country, frankly. And I think to go back to Senator Whitver and Bill's point earlier about the Future Ready Iowa plan that has been so successful in our state, for those individuals who want to get into this specific industry, the tools exist in Iowa for individuals to become trained or retrained or job trained in these areas in a very quick amount of time. It's not like they're going to school for years and years. They can turn around a program within months. And so I think that's a really key aspect of that. And again, the whole ecosystem has to work together on this, not only providing the opportunities for jobs, but also providing the opportunities on the other hand for individuals to be retrained, reskilled so that they're capable of producing in those roles.
Yeah, I would say with what Joe said there, we have a very strong community college network here in Iowa that was established in the mid 1960s. And as jobs change, as the need changes, and I think you'll see that with Future Ready Iowa, as those focuses change, we'll be nimble and we'll be able to pivot and get those workers trained to whatever maybe that new skill set is or that new industry is. So I think we're very fortunate in the state of Iowa to have that strong network of community colleges, and then to have that complemented by the Future Ready Iowa program. And of course, again, I'll mention our own program in Cherokee County, the Cherokee County Promise.
Yeah, and to add on to what we're doing, especially at the community college level, is what we've done at the state is we tried to remove all the barriers or all the issues with trying to go get those skills. Things like last dollar scholarships to try to get community college degrees that are paid for free in some cases or very low cost, to try to remove any barriers towards people getting the skills they need. And we have had a long history of a strong community college network, but especially in the time that I've been in the legislature, the last 10 years, we've had very, very good relationships with the presidents of these community colleges. So when the private sector sees a need to create a degree program or get the skills needed for a specific thing, our community college presidents are working directly with companies to say, what do you need? How can we do it? How can we even maybe work with you so that your employees can get these skills while they're working full time? And so that partnership with the private sector businesses and the community college presidents and leaders to remove all the barriers, all the things that are saying, well, I can't get that degree. We tried to remove those so that it's easy to get the skills you need. And we've invested a lot at the state level into our community colleges, significantly more than we have in our regent universities, because we know a lot of the jobs of the future are going to come through 2-year degrees in our community colleges. So that's been a focus for the entire 10 years I've been in the legislature, and I think that will continue.
We'll appreciate that, Senator. Anything else, or yeah, I appreciate you taking on my my bonus questions there. So yeah, is there anything else anyone wanted to add as we close?
I guess I would just add in closing that we really appreciate you guys highlighting this energy sector here in Iowa on your panel and putting this together. I'm very pleased to be a part of it, and we have a lot of good things going on here in Iowa, and we're always proud to share our story.
Absolutely, and I would echo the thanks and for the opportunity for someone who leads the economic development effort in a smaller county in Northwest Iowa. We appreciate the opportunity to highlight some of the things that we're doing and that we have seen the investments from renewables in our county and being able to, again, showcase those and to be part of this panel today. So thank you to the examiner again for that opportunity.
Yeah, thank you, Josh. Nothing different from what Jack and Bill had added. I would just put a plug in for anybody who's listening outside of the state of Iowa to come to Iowa, move into Iowa. We need you here. We need your ideas. We need your vision. And working together, we can really fuel the next generation of innovation here. So appreciate your time. Thanks for the questions and looking forward to working with everybody in the future.
Cool. Thanks, guys. I appreciate that, and everyone watching at home. You know, obviously these are tricky times, so I appreciate you going on and watching at home. So, you know, if you enjoy the conversation, virtual events, you can check them out at WashingtonExaminer.com. They'll be covering different policy areas, but if specifically you're a fan of energy and kind of want to read more stories, more reporting, both at the federal and state level, I actually co-author a newsletter. It's called Daily on Energy. It publishes every weekday. You can subscribe to that. Also on the WashingtonExaminer.com website. So would really appreciate it if you all did that as well. So after I do my little plug there, really appreciate everyone being here, and thanks again for a great event.
Thank you.
Thank you.